Well, thank you for having me. No, it's a pleasure to be here this morning. And you're right, the name is still of the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. So we are a state agency, and what I've placed on the screen right now, this is actually the link to the SWaM application. SWaM program, just to give you a quick synopsis of the program, is a state set-aside program, and the state actually has an aspirational goal of spending 42% of discretionary spending with SWaM certified firms. So this link, and I'll share all of this information, Christine, I'll send you a copy of the presentation with all of the appropriate links. But this link actually takes you to the application itself. So from the application, actually, let me just go back for a second. Okay. This is what the page to the application actually looks like. And from here, you'll be asked to enter or create a username and a password. And then what you do is you will actually register. So you're going to create a username and password and then register. And oftentimes, and I want to stress that because the inclination is to log in, and I've seen that more times than I care to mention. But what you really want to do is you want to go ahead and register. Then upon that, you enter some basic information. It's going to ask for your full name as well as your email address. You confirm that. And then once again, you're going to hit the button to register. At that point, you're going to receive an email with a link to activate the account. And sometimes that email can take up to 10 minutes, but don't sweat it. Be sure to check your spam folder because quite often it will end up in your spam folder. So if you don't see it in your inbox within the first minute or so, check your spam folder because it's quite possibly resting there. We want to make sure when you start the registration, so once you go back, once you've activated the account, then you'll be allowed to log in. So it's going to take you back to that first page. You're going to enter your username and password that you had just created, and then you're going to log in at that point. And you're going to use your EIN as opposed to your Social Security number. The department is really getting away from from having business owners use their Social Security number. Just for security, and just for security reasons, you don't want your social floating around. I mean, this is a very secure site, but still you want to use your EIN number or your employer identification number, which if you don't have, you can obtain that from the IRS. And it's a very simple process. It will take about 10 minutes. This is the link to obtain an EIN number. And once you've done that, once you've gone through that process, it will take literally 10 minutes and you get your EIN number while you're on the line. From that point, you'll be asked whether you want to add a new application, and the answer is yes. So you do want to add a new application. You're going to create your application at that point. So once that's done, you'll be asked, what are the designations you want to apply for? So I'm just going to go ahead and say everyone on this everyone on this call wants to check the box for small. The definition of a small business in Virginia is that you have either 250 or fewer employees, or you do less than $10 million in top line revenue, and that's averaged over 3 years. So as long as you satisfy one of those two constraints, then you're eligible for that small business certification designation in Virginia. And actually 99.5% of all businesses in Virginia qualify as a small business. Now, in addition to that, you're going to see the box for either micro, well, for you see a few boxes that you can also check if they're applicable. If your firm does less than $3 million in top line revenue and you have fewer than 25 fewer employees, then you want to check that micro box. There are special procurement set-asides for micro-certified firms. So if you're eligible for that, you want to make sure that you do check that box. You will also there will also be a space for you to indicate whether the firm is either woman-owned or minority-owned Now, in order to be a woman-owned business, the firm has to be majority-owned by women, but also women have to control the business. So they have to be the senior officer of the company and the persons responsible for making decisions to drive the company. So if you just have majority ownership, but if the woman is not in control of the business, then that wouldn't qualify as a woman-owned business. Similarly, with a minority-owned business, the ethnic minority has to be the majority owner of the business and in control of the business. Again, senior officer of the company and the person or persons responsible for making decisions for the company. Now, the SWaM program, and I didn't mention this, but the SWaM program is both race and gender neutral. So it doesn't matter whether the company is woman-owned or minority-owned. The fact that you're a SWaM is all that really matters for the state agencies. You then be asked to indicate your company structure. So, and this is just a checkbox, basically. You're either structured as an LLC, a corporation, a sole proprietorship, etc. So you're just going to check the appropriate space. They're going to type in the address of the company. And I want you to actually type in that address and don't use an autofill, because if you type in the address, then it will populate. If you use an autofill, sometimes there are glitches with that and it doesn't populate properly. So just type in the address. And once you start typing it in, it will populate with your accurate address. You'd be asked whether or not you want to receive marketing materials, and the answer is yes. The reason for that is because my agency, in particularly my division, Business Development and Outreach Services, we do workshops on business development all the time, literally all the time. And as a result of COVID, everything we're doing is being done virtually, but we want to make sure that you're notified of this activity. And if you check yes to receiving marketing materials, we can at least send you notices that the different workshops are taking place. And if you find that you're inundated with this information, you can simply go back and ask to be removed from the from that distribution list. But we want to make sure that you have access, or that you're at least made aware of the different workshops and conferences going on. Again, all designed to help you develop and grow your business. So you do want to check that box, yes. And obviously we never sell or give your information to anyone else. So it's not as though you're going to find that we've sold it to some marketing company or anything like that. You ask for the number of employees in your firm, and these are full-time employees for whom you file a W-2. If you're using someone who's a 1099 or an independent contractor, they really don't count in this respect. So you don't count them as an employee. Also, I just want to make mention, if you are a single member LLC, or if your firm is structured as an LLC, then you as the owner, you're actually a member, you're not an employee. So don't count yourself as an employee. And if you're a single member LLC, then the answer is 0. Because unless you do have full-time employees for whom you submit W-2s. The reason this is important is because if you indicate that if you count yourself as an employee, then the system is going to record that you have employees, and later on in the application process, when asked to submit documents, you'll be asked to submit a 941. And I see this quite often, where the business owner will indicate that, or count themselves as an employee, and then they're asked to submit a 941, and they have no idea what that 941 is. Well, the 941 is a quarterly return, a quarterly tax document that you submit to the IRS, counting the number of your employees. But if you don't have any employees, you're not going to be familiar with the 941. So it just causes confusion. So again, if you're the only member of that LLC, or if you are structured as an LLC and you don't have employees, then the answer will be 0. The application is also going to ask for your gross receipts for the last 3 years. And for the years, the years will be listed as a drop down. You want to make sure that you enter something in the gross receipts column. So for the last tax years, 2021, 2020, and 2019, indicate the gross receipts of the company. That's your top line revenue. If you have not yet filed your tax return for 2021, then submit a copy of that extension letter that you filed with the IRS to show that you have at least filed the request or you've been granted the extension. If for whatever reason, well, let's say for argument's sake, your business just started in 2020, you still want to go back. And even though the company didn't exist in 2019, you want to use that 2019 drop down and indicate that you had no sales. The system needs to read something for each of those 3 years in order for you to advance. It will ask for your ownership information, and the ownership information it's pretty straightforward. The certification group will never mail anything to you via snail mail. Everything will be sent electronically through your email. So you want to make sure that we have the correct email account on record. And if that email changes, you want to make sure you go back into the system and edit your SWaM record to correct and update your email. If there's more than one owner to the firm, there's a plus sign where you can just add additional owners. The system will also ask whether or not the owner has 10% or more ownership in any other business. If that's the case, then that's considered an affiliate. The state of Virginia defines an affiliate based on ownership and not line of business. So in other words, if you have 10% more, either 10% or more ownership in any other firm, regardless of the line of business, then that is considered an affiliate. So you want to indicate that as well. For a registered agent, it will also ask for registered agent information. Once again, if you're an LLC, and I'm mentioning LLCs throughout because that's the most common form of business structure that I come across. But if the firm is structured as an LLC, you can claim yourself as a registered agent. It will ask for your address as well as your phone number. But you will never receive a phone call from our agency, nor will you receive snail mail. Everything will be communicated via electronic email. The business category is a drop down. So you can look on that to see if your category is listed. If not, then simply check on the box for other. But it's just a broad categorization of what you do. The NGP codes, and this is important because the NGP codes is really a classification system of different products or services. And it's important that you get this right on both on your SWaM application and with your eVA registration, because the SWaM, excuse me, the NGP codes will identify the product or service that you're offering. And in turn, when buyers have solicitations to go out, they'll look for specific NGP codes, or the system will look for specific NGP codes. So you want to make sure that you have the correct one. And I'm going to click on this link because there is a search engine on the SWaM application. There's a search engine to go through the and help you identify your NGP codes. So this is what that looks like. And you can do a search by just typing in this description right here, and then you want to hit the search button. Now, I want to mention, If your business provides a service, then that's going to start with the number 9. If, on the other hand, you're providing a tangible product or tangible or physical product, then that's going to start with any other digit. So, and also I want to stress the importance between a parent code and a subcategory code or a child code. So I'm just going to do a search, and I'm going to use an example of consulting. I spell it correctly. So I've typed in consulting, and I'm going to just hit the search bar, and we're going to come down to this 91800. So the parent codes will end in a 00. And if your company provides all of the services under that parent code, or the majority of the services, then it's fine to go ahead and hit that. But it's a business decision as to whether or not you want to do that, because I'm going to use consulting as an example. So I'm going to click on this parent code, this 91800, and you're going to get a host of different services under consulting. But wait, there's more. Okay, so all of these subcategories start with the digits 918. And that parent code 91800 encompasses all of these. So if you were to use that parent code of 91800 as your NIGP code, then you will be receiving solicitations or notices for everything on this list, for all of the subcategories. Now, there are going to be other subcategories where it won't be this extensive. So for instance, I've clicked on the 9500, and that has one subcategory. But it's a business decision, because you can opt to, I guess, take a shotgun approach and look at and receive notices for all of the subcategories, but that's a business decision. Or you can be more surgical and go in and select the various or more specific subcategories that apply specifically to your business. But it's a business decision that you would have to make. So once, and by the way, you can have as many NIGP codes as you like. And I would suggest that you use as many NIGP codes that are appropriate to your business. The reason for that is because the NIGP, the coding system, is really more of an art than a science. And sometimes you can have two different buyers or procurement officers looking for the same product or service, but they'll utilize different codes. So if the code is applicable to your business, you want to look to add that code to your profile, both on the SWaM application as well as the eVA application. So then it's just going to ask for some additional information on the application, your geographic location that you service, and that'll be, you'll be asked to check and identify the locations that you're looking to serve, whether or not you accept credit card payments. And by the way, buyers like getting paid with a credit card. It makes their life easier, and also you get paid faster. And also whether or not you want any exemptions to your application. And the answer to that is no. We never sell or share your information anyway. So the answer, you really don't want to request an exemption. That's going to require additional documentation. So so the answer to that would be no. So any questions, Christine, any questions at this point regarding the application? Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to move into, well, once you've done this and the application saves automatically, but once you've done this, you're going to hit the next button. And by the way, if anything has been missed or omitted, it will prompt you. So it'll identify what's missing, and you can just go back and make the appropriate correction. But if not, it's going to take you to a field where you'll be asked to upload specific documents. Now, everyone will be asked to upload a copy of the owner's driver's license, the current passport, or a birth certificate. The driver's license is used to prove identity, whereas the passport or birth certificate will be used for citizenship. This information is required for the individuals that comprise 51% ownership of the company. So if the company is owned by a single person who has or sole owner, then only that person needs to provide his or her driver's license and either a current passport or their birth certificate. If ownership is split, let's say 50-50, then both individuals will have to provide a copy of the driver's license, and that's just the front of your driver's license. And also both individuals will have to provide a current passport or their birth certificates. You'd also be asked to provide different documents. And these documents are going to be predicated on how you've answered the question throughout. So it's sort of like a tree. And depending upon your answers to the application, you'll be asked to provide specific documents. If the company is structured as an LLC, one of the documents that will be required is an operating agreement. Well, before I say that, let me just say, so when asked to upload specific documents, some items won't be applicable to your business, but the system will ask for them anyway. And what you can simply do is just upload a statement, as simple as some of these, and you can use those. Every statement has to include the name of the business, the owner's signature, and it can be an electronic signature, and the date. And then that can be uploaded instead of the required documents. So I'll give you an example. If the company is structured as an LLC, you will be asked to upload an operating agreement. However, in Virginia, if you're a single member LLC, you don't have to have an operating agreement, but the system still asks for one. So we want to make the process as easy as possible for you as the applicant. So all you need to do is just submit a statement that simply says, my company is a single member LLC and does not have an operating agreement. Again, that needs to include the name of the company, the name of the business, the owner's signature, which can be done electronically, and the date. And you can upload that in lieu of the requested operating agreement. If there are more than one members to that LLC, then you do have to have an operating agreement. The Commonwealth of Virginia requires an operating agreement if it's a multi-member LLC. And similarly, you can use these type statements for, these type statements for things that are not applicable. Now, the source of funding is important because if the company has been around for more than 5 years, so in other words, you've been in existence for more than 5 years, you may not have records going back to when you started the company. So again, we want to make the process as easy on the business owner as possible. So if you've been around, if the company's been in existence for more than 5 years, you can use a statement such as this: my company was started in 1990, and you don't have the financial records going back that far. The company was capitalized with your own funds. And if those statements are true, then you can use something as simple as this to upload where it's asking for source of funding or source of capital. Again, that statement has to include the name of the business, the owner's signature, and the date. And you can certainly elaborate on some of these statements, but that's the crux. This is really the crux of what needs to be provided. If you are structured as a corporation, even though you might be a single director and single owner of the corporation, it will ask for board meeting minutes. So you can simply submit something as simple as, I'm the sole director and owner of this company, and attest that the company has not made any changes in ownership or directorship. Then you don't have to submit minutes because you haven't made any changes. So you don't need to have any board meeting minutes or anything like that. And again, so wherever something is not applicable to your business, because the system is smart, but it's not that smart. So it will ask for some things, even though they really may not be, they may not apply to your business, and you can just upload a statement. And again, keep it simple, signed, dated, and the signature can be done electronically, and include the business name, and you can upload that instead. But something has to be uploaded in every field. Otherwise, you won't be allowed to advance in the application. So just, in terms of tips for completing the application, it'll ask if you have ownership in any other company. And again, that's considered an affiliate. And affiliate companies, it will ask for your tax documents for those, for any other affiliate company, and the number of employees for that affiliate company. So you need to be prepared to provide that and upload that information. The employee count, if you have at least one employee, it will ask for a 941. We'll ask for your last 4 941s, and these are submitted to the IRS quarterly. Your gross receipts, even if you didn't exist in a particular year, if you weren't in existence for the last 3 years, the company didn't exist for the past 3 years, it won't ask for gross receipts for that 3rd year. Simply enter 0. For the registered agent, if you are an LLC, you can identify or list yourself as a registered agent. The NIGP codes are important, and you can have as many codes as you want, and you can always come back and edit the application. So if you find that there are more codes that you want to add, or you want to delete some codes, you can delete your NIGP codes. Now, as I say that, let me just mention, it will ask for your primary NIGP code. And for some reason, you cannot change that, but it doesn't matter. Once you've entered, the primary code, if you don't want to receive notices on that, that's not a big deal. It's only one code, and don't worry about that. But all of the other codes can be edited. Credit card payments, if you do accept charge card payments, which again, the buyers prefer paying with a charge card, you want to make sure that you can, that you check that box as a yes. Upload all of the required documents. If you can't, if you fail to upload something in every space, you won't be allowed to advance. And as I say that, let me stress too, this is a friendly system. You don't have to go through the application in one sitting. You can come back to it. The system will save automatically. And if you make an error, that's not the worst thing in the world. Either you won't be allowed to advance and you can go back and correct that error, or on the back end, the certification officer will correct that, or excuse me, will find that error and notify you via email and give you the opportunity to correct it. So it's not a one and done. You certainly have, pardon me, I'm sorry. You certainly have the opportunity to fix the system. And last but not least, hit that submit button. And I say that because I've come across a few cases where the business owner has filled out the application, uploaded all of the required documents, gone through and signed the application electronically as required, and forgot to hit submit. And just the other day, I was talking with a business owner. He had submitted his application last March of 2021, and hadn't heard anything. And he was in a workshop I was doing the other day, and he said he hadn't heard anything in all of this time. I was able to go in and check, and he never hit the submit button. So just be sure you hit that submit button, because that's when the clock starts. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm sorry. So just be sure to hit that submit button. So what next? So the process takes 90 calendar days from the time you hit submit until the time you're certified. And I mentioned earlier, 99.5% of all businesses in Virginia are eligible for SWaM certification. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Everyone on this call is eligible for that SWaM certification. The process takes 90 days from the time you hit submit, so don't forget to hit the submit button. If a certification officer has any questions, you'll be notified via email. So be sure to go back and check that, make sure that we have your correct email in the system. If not, you can go in and edit the application and make that modification. And this is important. Well, everything is important, but during this period, you can solicit business with state agencies. Now, the state agencies have an aspirational goal of spending 42% with SWaM certified firms. So if a state agency wants to do business with you, and I stress a state agency, okay, but if they want to do business with your firm, they can contact my office and we can have your application expedited as long as you've gone through the process and you've submitted all of your documents. We can have the certification expedited so that it will take about 2 weeks and you'll be certified. The reason for that is because we want to do everything we can to help you as a small business owner get business. We don't want you not able to do business with the state simply because the application is or the paperwork is being processed. So we want to do everything we can to help you. And in addition, we want to do whatever we can to help the state buyers reach that 42% aspirational goal. So, so again, if a state buyer wants to do business with you, they can notify us and we can have your application expedited, the processing expedited, as long as you've done everything you can on your part and submitted all of the documents. Once certified, the firm will be listed in the SWaM directory, and state buyers oftentimes will utilize the SWaM directory if they're looking for firms to do business with. So you can go out and look to do business with state agencies. So this is the link to the application portal, the certification application portal. And this actually, this is what I showed at the start of the presentation, where you're going to create a username, password, and then register your business. This is a list of required documents. I'm going to go there for a second. So this is the list of required documents. And as I mentioned, everyone has to submit proof of citizenship by providing either a birth certificate or a permanent resident, or show permanent residency. So either a birth certificate or a passport. And also everyone has to submit a driver's license. Again, this is a list that you can access via this link, but this just goes through the documents that are required. If you have employees, then you're going to need to submit the first page of the 941 from the last 4 quarters. Proof of contribution. Your proof of contribution, you know, I mentioned if you've been in existence for more than 5 years, you can submit a statement, but the proof of contribution, if you're registered as an LLC, you can submit the receipt from the State Corporation Commission. If you've paid, if you're not registered with the State Corporation Commission, let's say you're a sole proprietorship, but you have a business license, you can submit the receipt from your local county or city showing, with your business license, showing that you've paid for your business. So they just want to make sure that you are the owner of the company and that you've contributed, that you have some skin in the game, that you've contributed out of pocket the majority of ownership for the company. Needs a copy of your resume. And the resume doesn't have to be anything elaborate, you know, so don't go nuts if you don't have a resume, but just create something. And at the top of the resume, you know, the most recent occupation that you show is your current business. be sure that's included on your resume. But again, don't go nuts over it. But they do need to see a resume. If a professional license is required for the business, then you want to submit that. But if it's not required, then simply submit a statement stating, as I showed earlier, a professional license is not required for my business, and you submit that instead. If you're structured as a corporation, these are the documents that need to be submitted. And if you are an LLC, it gets simpler. You need to submit your certificate of organization from the State Corporation Commission, as well as your articles. And again, the system will ask for an operating agreement, but that's only applicable if you're a multi-member LLC. If you're a sole member or a single member LLC, you don't need to have an operating agreement. And then it gets even simpler if you're a sole proprietorship, just a copy of your current business license and your fictitious name. If you've been in business less than 3 years, then you want to submit a copy of your EIN letter that you received from the IRS. Because if you've been in business less than 3 years, you won't be required to submit any tax documents. But that needs to be verified through your EIN letter. Give me 1 second. Okay. Christina, can you hold the pause the recording for a second? Okay, so that was the list of required documents. Now, this is also a link to, we have a video tutorial on our website. And that video tutorial is there. And we also have an instruction manual. And so we're doing everything possible to help you with your SWaM certification. And then in addition to that, this is my contact information. And I'm business services manager for Central and South Virginia. But if you're not in my region, if you're part of this program, then you can just let me know that. If you need to reach me, shoot me an email. And I tell people all the time, email, don't call. It's the best way to reach me. But even if you're not part of my physical region, if you're in this program, just indicate that in the email and I'll help you with your SWaM certification. And we can do this, we can go through the application process virtually. I do it all the time, so it's not a big deal. But feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Okay, so are there any other questions regarding the SWaM application?
I don't see any, Mr. Brown.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do, we'll go into the eVA system. Okay, so I'm going to share again. Okay, so this is the eVA homepage, and the address for eVA, and actually, Christina, I'll put this on in the presentation as well, but it's EVA, Edward Victor Alfred, EVA.Virginia, and Virginia is spelled out, .gov. And for the eVA system, you also need to have your EIN number, but let me just stress the importance of eVA. Or two things about eVA. One, it's based on being transparent. There are no under the table deals or hidden deals with eVA. Everything is above board, and this is all publicly accessed information. Now, that's one thing. And importantly with eVA, if you're going to do business with the state of Virginia, if you want to be paid, then you really need to be registered in eVA. Now, if you want to do business and not be paid, then you don't have to be registered in eVA. But if you want to get paid, you want to make sure that you are registered in eVA. And the process is quite simple, but what you're going to do is, and I can't walk past a certain point, but from the vendor, you're going to register. And then this green bar on the right, vendor registration. From here, ignore this white space. You're going to come down and click on the new registration. And then it'll take you through the legalese, and you can read the legalese and accept the terms. Then it's going to ask for your EIN number or your social. Again, I just encourage you to use your EIN number, and if you don't have one, be sure to get one. And the company's zip code, and then you continue. I can't go any further because I don't have an EIN number to enter. But once you've done that, then the process is pretty straightforward. If you do need assistance with eVA registration, you can contact the customer care center, or you can contact me, and again, I can help you with that. Here's the phone number to customer care. And they can walk you through the application, excuse me, through the registration process, or you can contact me and I can help you with that. I do want to just take a second or take a few minutes and show you something, show you some reports in eVA and why you, and some of the hidden benefits of eVA. And the reason I say hidden benefits is because 95% of the businesses I work with one-on-one, they've not seen what I'm going to show you right now. First, I'm going to go over to this transparency reports, and that's regardless of how long they've been registered in eVA or whether or not they're SWaM certified, but this is all publicly accessed information. I'm going to come down to public spend reports. Now, the public spend reports are located in this blue area over here. And one of the reports I'm going to show you, and this is really the most powerful report, but in my opinion, is Who's Buying What I Sell, report 702. And when you click on any of these reports, you get two pop-ups. The report info gives you an overview of the report itself. It identifies the purpose. It tells you what information you're going to need to input and what you can expect to get out of the report. Okay. I'm actually going to go through and we're going to actually open this report and I'm going to run it and I'm going to look at specific NGP codes. Once I've clicked on that, different fields come up and our fiscal year, just so you know, our fiscal year runs from July 1 through June 30th, or you can run this against a calendar year or a specific time period that you've designated or identified. So what I'm going to do is, since we're near the end of the fiscal year, I'm going to highlight fiscal year for 2022. And for the NGP codes, I'm going to just put in I hope that's an actual code. And I'll put in another code. Okay. Okay. So if these are not actual codes, the system will let me know. So I wanted to run this against multiple codes just to show you, you can run this against as many codes as you like, separated with a comma and no space. Okay, let me go back. You know what? I'll make it simple. I'm going to look up commodity code. Okay, so we'll use this parent code, I'm just going to drop down 02543. Okay, so I'm running it against multiple codes, and now it's going out into the procurement system and pulling up all of the purchase orders against those two commodity codes based on the parameters I inputted. And those parameters, here are the NIGP codes. We looked at the fiscal year, and this is the time period. So fiscal year 2022, which is about to end. So this first column identifies the NIGP code, and it just lists the codes numerically. There's no other significance to it than that. By the way, each of these codes starts with a number other than a 9. So these are physical products as opposed to services. This next column identifies the state agency that made the purchase. So in this first example, it's the Virginia Department of Transportation, or VDOT, Savannah Correctional Center, Virginia State University, and so on and so forth. So it's going to identify the state agencies that made the purchase. Oh, also, by the way, if this report had more than one, was more than one page, it would show you the total number of pages in the report. This next column is actually a live link to the actual purchase order. And you can click on that and see the purchase order, but all of the information from the purchase order is included in this report. So there's really no need to do that, but you could if you wanted to. This is the order date, which is self-explanatory. Then this is the name of the company that received the order. So this first example is Mountain Air Compressor, Inc. And actually, the second example is Southern Refrigeration Corp. So looking at these two companies, so this first company, this next column identifies the SWaM certification. So this first company, Mountain Air Compressor, Inc., they're not SWaM certified. Otherwise, they would have an S here, which, so as associated with Southern Refrigeration Corp. So in this column, you can see either a blank, as in the case of Mountain Air, or you can see a combination of S, W, M, or the letter O for micro, or if you're a service disabled veteran, that will show up as well. So in this case, Southern Refrigeration Corporation is simply small. So they're neither women-owned or minority-owned, and they're also not micro. Otherwise, they would have the letter O for micro, as in the case here. Colonial Refrigeration. Okay, so they have that O and the S, showing that they're small and micro. This next column indicates the line item number, which is associated with the purchase order. So the buyer may have opted to issue the award to multiple vendors, or even the same vendor, but just broken out the purchase order based on specific line items. And then here's a description of what was purchased. So again, this information is lifted directly from the purchase order itself. So here's a description of what was purchased. And then if there's a specific part number, and then the quantity, and then the price per unit, and then the total price paid. So all of the pricing information is included right in this report. And then the date that is needed. And then here's really the best part of this report. These last two columns, because this tells you the buyer's contact information. This provides the contact information. It provides their email address as well as their phone number, because you can reach out to these buyers on a proactive basis and introduce yourself and your company to them to make them aware of who you are. Because if there's a solicitation less than $10,000, the buyers don't have to put that out to bid. All they have to do is pick up the phone and call one SWaM certified firm and give him or her the business. So one of the benefits of being SWaM certified, if you operate in a space of less than $10,000, and you can look to develop a relationship with those buyers so that they don't have to put it out to bid, and all they have to do if they have a need for your service is just call you. That doesn't have to go, it doesn't have to be made into a competitive bid. In this format, you can't do anything with the data, but you can download it into an Excel or CSV, and within an Excel spreadsheet, then you can manipulate the data. And you can reach out, again, you can use this to reach out to these buyers, use it to develop your target list, and then reach out to them and introduce yourself and your company and your service to them, so that you can be made, so that you can become top of mind when they don't have a need, particularly in that space less than $10,000. So you can look to develop relationships with the buyers. Any questions here?
So this is a great, I guess, way to analyze the awards for the bids that go out. But I know we can't see, or at least to my knowledge, we cannot see other people's bids that they submit, but can we see how many bids are submitted in response to a certain?
Okay, so if it's a formal solicitation, well, you can. Let me go back to the eVA homepage, and we're going to go to business opportunities. And actually, so these are solicitations that have been put out, but we're going to go to awarded. And this SS indicates it was a sole source, but we're going to okay, so these are awarded awarded bids, and we can go in. So okay, so what's supposed to happen, once the bid has been awarded, the buyer should come back and populate this information. And this gives you an example. Okay, so this tells you, oh, this is pretty recent, that's why. Let's find an older one. So the buyer just hasn't had a chance to do that yet. Let's go back. Go back. Because that information is public information. This is from, but sometimes the buyers may not, you know, might take them a minute to input the information. Okay, so this is one from February of this year. Okay, so from February of this year, let's see. Okay. Oh gosh. So this tells you the vendor that received the award. If you don't see the information here, because the buyer should provided that information under the bid tab. But if you don't see that information, you can reach out and contact the buyer and they can provide you with the number of firms that bid on the project. And you can also get a look at the winning proposal. So that information is public information.
That's interesting. So you can review the winning bid
Yes, you can.
proposal?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And, you know, the buyers are supposed to put that information in the eVA system, but like everyone else, they're very busy too. So they just might not have gotten around to it yet. But if you don't see it here, you can reach out and contact the buyer and ask for that information. Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions?
I don't see any more at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, you have my contact information. Feel free to reach out if you do have any specific questions that I can help you with, or if you want to set up, you know, a one-on-one session that can help you with the SWaM application, or, you know, navigating through the eVA system, or even getting registered in eVA. I can help with that as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Brown. I appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And we will see you guys in June.
Great. Thank you very much. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.